Greetings to the anointed. Kings are still keeping an eye on you even if you don't have a throne. It sounds dramatic. Well, it is. Allow me to break the news to you. While you're taking care of yourself, getting well, staying hydrated, and attempting to think of what to make for supper, rooms you have never been in are whispering your name. No, I'm not referring to the group chat that your ex was on. I'm speaking about secret societies, high-level networks, and elite groups where being present is an issue rather than a fad. Because you're noisy, they're not observing you. You're loud in the spirit, which is why they're watching. Because every action you take, quiet, holy, and unconcerned, disturbs long-standing plans. I have a crazy fact for you. In declassified papers, the CIA previously acknowledged that during Cold War operations, spiritually gifted people and remote viewers constituted a genuine intelligence interest. Translation: they have been observing those with inexplicable light for a long time. People behind layers of clearance and titles are squinting like, who is this? And why can't we figure them out? While you believe you're simply sharing an inspiring reel or expressing your feelings. The fact is, they don't want you to realize how strong you seem when you're just being yourself. Because their kingdom of illusions is shaken when a chosen one advances in purity. Don't panic, however. You don't have paranoia. You've only just realized. You're not the only one viewing this video, I assure you. Let's begin. First of all, your scar tissue, not your smile, is what they're examining. Your grin doesn't impress them. Your scars are being examined by them. Charm and charisma don't appeal to the elites, the people in positions of actual power, the ones who don't tweet about it. The fact that you're still standing after everything that was supposed to break you is what has them leaning in. The number of times your name has been used in discussions where your survival was unexpected is beyond your comprehension. They're not observing your light. It's your perseverance. They're curious about how you recovered from being devastated emotionally, how you continue to show up without the typical support networks. How can you maintain that level of tranquility without the support of privilege? The superficial stuff doesn't appeal to them. That is something they can purchase. They have the ability to generate followers, finance a brand, and establish trends. However, they are unable to replicate what you carry. The depth that comes from suffering that you choose not to let to poison you. Thus, they research it. It's really divine engineering, but they call it resiliency. You have survived betrayals that ought to have caused your soul to be rewired. Isolation might have made you resentful, but it made you more shrewd. You possess an energy that defies death, which frightens those who feel strong only when they are in charge. Because you don't fit the template, you're being observed. You weren't meant to reach this point. Not with that history, not with all that trauma, not with that sorrow. But now you're stronger, smarter, and more clear. You are not admired by them. Privately, not in public. They analyze your life as if it were a book. They are learning from your scars what their money could never teach them. They are attempting to reverse engineer every masterclass breakdown you survived. Although it wasn't your intention, you are a blueprint. Your perseverance speaks louder than any microphone, even if you didn't choose to be examined. And somewhere behind a desk, a powerful person is wondering how someone with nothing can continue to triumph like their favorite person in paradise. Second, in their control rooms, you are the case study. You're now the talk of rooms you're not even aware exist. Prominent individuals are researching your life out of worry rather than interest. You are erratic. You don't adopt their habits. Their idols are not worshipped by you. Additionally, you don't follow the guidelines that hold everyone else accountable. You are dangerous just for that. Systems designed to confine, conform, and control have made you the case study. They also don't comprehend how someone like you managed to remain free by slipping between the gaps. They don't anticipate your background. Their establishments did not train you. You didn't have top endorsements, money, or connections. But you continue to arrive with insight that reveals their deceit. Their algorithm is upset by your presence. Your presence continues reverberating even if you're meant to be invisible or at the very least unimportant. You're influencing individuals they believe to be under their sway in ways they can't track down. They're watching you more than others with larger platforms and bigger voices because of this. Because you're departing from divine guidance. In contrast to the programmed actors, you are thus unreadable. The loudness doesn't matter to them. They keep an eye on trends. And their template is not compatible with your pattern. You're not trying to follow trends. You're not trying to gain influence by manipulating. They've taught the world to pursue approval, but you're not bound by it. They don't know how to duplicate the old, internal thing you're leaving behind. Your independence raises red flags in systems that are meant to gauge compliance. Additionally, the longer you remain true to yourself, the more you endanger the system they have established. You are now the one who breaks the equation and becomes their unsolvable variable. They are analyzing you to identify a weakness rather than to praise you. In order to discredit you if they are unable to manage you, they seek to identify the weakness that accounts for your power. Here's the twist, however. What God coded is indecipherable to them. You're not a glitch, either. They didn't anticipate the heavenly upheaval that you are. Third, you are the evidence. Their ancestries are incapable of creating deity. Generations have been devoted to perfecting bloodlines by the privileged. They have created whole empires based on heritage, married into positions of authority, and guarded their last names like precious gems. However, none of it provided them with what comes easily to you. Their system wasn't a part of your birth. However, you exude an authority that others are unable to match. They stay awake at night because of it. They are aware that, despite your lack of wealth, you possess an aura of ancient monarchy encased in a common body. Because it demonstrates that God's favor cannot be passed down via titles, lineages, or organizations, your presence alone is problematic. You are living evidence that a CV is not necessary for destiny. They have been attempting to purchase power for decades, and now you are carrying it without even requesting it. They research you for that reason. You confuse people because of this. You're moving with something deeper, something that seems to have come from another world, rather than with entitlement. Through manipulation, hidden information, and rituals, they have attempted to create spiritual influence. However, you arrived with revelation they are unable to decipher, unaffected by their systems. Books did not give you your knowledge. It originated from injuries. Gurus did not offer you your clarity. Survival had sculpted it. Even if they don't want to acknowledge it, you were born with everything that they intended to manage. It doesn't mean you're superior. It's because you are authentic. Their might cannot create a soul like yours. They are irritated by it. They can't buy your innocence, and they can't copy your relationship with God. No amount of power or access can change who you are. Additionally, a reality they have attempted to conceal is shown by the fact that you are not under their gatekeeping. That favor is not guaranteed by heredity or status. Only purposeful alignment does. The flaw in their hierarchy is you. The sudden appearance. The raw voice. Additionally, your presence subtly reveals a fact they would want not to be known. The polished are not chosen by God. He selects those who are ready. Fourth, they don't want you to be well-liked. They want you under surveillance and silent. They had no intention of preventing your brilliance. When you did, they wanted to make sure no one saw you. Containment, not conflict, has always been the true goal. They attempt to keep your light in a box since they know they can't destroy it. They do not want you to become well-known. They want you to remain unseen for as long as possible so they can observe every action you do. In public, they will minimize your impact, but in private, your name is highlighted in red. You are being observed, not disregarded. Speaking is an activation, not merely a verbal exchange. They are aware that if the appropriate people hear you, systems will begin to fall apart because you provide truth that pierces illusions. You have intentionally been undervalued because of this. It's not that you lack strength. Simply put, they're afraid of what may occur if other people also recognize it. Therefore, they divert your attention, tamper with algorithms, socially isolate you, and prevent your voice from being heard in settings where it may lead to revolution. They do not want for your truth to be known. Like a virus, they want it controlled. This is the reason you felt so invisible. It's strategy, not your imagination, even if you're doing everything well. Because such voices support the system, they will allow fake voices to gain traction. They shadow ban your spirit before you even set foot on a stage because you broke it. They will deceive you into believing that your gift is unnecessary, but in fact, they are trying extra hard to ensure that the people it was intended to wake up don't get it. Stopping you has never been the plan. It has been to keep an eye on you. In order to divert your attention, they want to know when you're about to make a breakthrough. In order to intercept, they want to know who is listening. However, this is what caught them off guard. They gave you more fire each time they attempted to quiet you. They can't muffle what God has already amplified, and every effort to confine you has made your message more divine, more focused, and more purified. Fifth, As soon as you woke up, their computers flagged you. They were aware of you the instant you began to challenge the things that everyone else took for granted. You thought something hazardous, not because you uttered anything out. You began to break mental agreements with the structures that had taught you to follow rules, the media that promoted fear over facts, the religious system that insisted on obedience over truth, and the cultural narratives that confined you. And once you did, you transformed into something they couldn't ignore. You did nothing wrong to warrant being tagged. You stopped sleeping, thus you were reported. Predictability is the foundation of these systems. They depend on individuals following instructions, doing what they are taught, and seeking confirmation from the same flawed sources. However, you disconnected. You stopped putting your faith, your vitality, and your focus into the machine. The alarms then started to sound. You are seen as more than simply a liberated individual. People think you have the ability to release others. That means you're upsetting everything they've created. You are not simply able to look through the matrix. You said you were going to reveal the wiring. That's why everything changed so abruptly around you. The broken friendships, the odd resistance, the sporadic roadblocks. It wasn't unlucky. Interference was evolving from surveillance. People like you alter atmospheres, not just ideas, which is why they call it hazardous awareness. The energy reacts when you enter a room. You pose inquiries that expose well-crafted falsehoods. You don't play tiny in places meant to keep people sleeping spiritually. And those who stand to gain from mass control are terrified by it. They used religion, shame, remorse, and mockery to try to keep you in check, but it didn't work. Because you can't go back to sleep once you're up. In their control grid, you've turned into a live glitch. Evidence that the emergence of supernatural intelligence does not need authorization. They are observing your every action. They see it, and they are afraid of it. You've finally discovered yourself, not because you're lost. Sixth, they gather information from others in your immediate vicinity. Not all of the people watching you are hidden behind screens or cameras. They may sometimes be seen grinning when seated directly across the table. The individuals being utilized to keep tabs on you are unaware that they are a part of a system. They believe they are only checking in, catching up, or showing concern for you. However, the unexpected interest in your life, goals, and emotional condition is not coincidental. Elites seldom come personally when they seek information about a selected one. They make advantage of those who already own your heart. The pattern may have caught your attention. The buddy who abandoned you reappears out of nowhere with strangely detailed inquiries. Suddenly, the relative who never gave a damn about your vocation wants to know who you're talking to, where you're going, and what you're creating. They are not malevolent. The majority of them are only emotionally manipulated. They aren't even conscious that they are being utilized. They have been spiritually coerced into thinking that they are assisting you or that their interest is a sign of care. In reality, however, this is monitoring masquerading as caring. The system is aware that technology cannot read your soul. Your intuition, your downloads, and your spiritual direction are not available online. They so target those you trust and those who do have access. And such individuals become the ideal vessels if they are suffering from unhealed wounds, envy, or spiritual blindness. It isn't necessarily malicious intent. It's ego, insecurity, trauma, and open doors. The opponent obtains access in this way. They do not approach you requesting your passwords. They came to inquire about your true well-being. They use someone else's report to analyze your speech. By examining your interactions, they monitor your development. The best aspect is that they can tell your progress without even being in your life. All they need is someone who is. For this reason, discretion is essential. Not all of your loved ones can accompany you on your journey. Furthermore, not everyone who hears you is good hearing. The biggest danger to your elevation in a society where spiritual battle is real often lurks in familiar faces. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay one step ahead. You have DNA codes, number 7. For generations, they have been attempting to repress. It was never simply about your outward appearance. It has always been about the things that are running through your blood and hidden inside of you. They have been trying to eradicate it for ages, yet you carry something old. You possess more than simply spiritual talent. Your biology has encoded you. You possess codes, actual frequencies, heavenly blueprints, and inherited awakenings that link you to a reality that predates the systems of this world. Your family history is not the only thing your DNA may reveal. It reveals your spiritual purpose. To prevent certain individuals from rising to prominence, elites have rewrote history, interfered with bloodlines, and altered reality for decades. In order to persuade individuals that they are weak, unfit, or average, they have developed whole systems via science, religion, and education. However, they were unable to reach you in time. Unaltered, unedited, and packed full of everything they've been attempting to hide, you manage to evade their manipulation. Their plan is hampered by your mere presence. Your innate abilities, intuition, dreams, foresight, healing, and wisdom are not just peculiarities. They are activations. Spiritual technology, knowledge not passed down from this age, is ingrained in your DNA. You didn't inherit life, you received light. And those codes started to open as you started to wake up. That's why you feel as if you've always known something, because you have. It is encoded. No one ever taught it. It was moved. They're not merely afraid of your strength. They are afraid of where you came from. The fact that divinity wasn't intended to be centralized is revealed if individuals like you keep awakening. It sat in individuals just like you. You serve as proof that the original line was not destroyed. You are evidence that heaven sowed seeds where their empires failed. You weren't born with privilege. Prophecy brought you. And God was protecting the true light inside you while they were preoccupied with managing the spotlight. The codes that activate others are carried by you. And what's already in your blood cannot be stopped by them. Eighth, they were warned about you by the spirit world even before you were conceived. When you developed a sense of purpose, your struggles didn't begin. Before you could even form words, they began. Your arrival was noted long before you had made up your mind. People in high places, both spiritually and physically, were made aware of your birth. Because of your task, not because of your standing. You weren't born into this planet. They sent you. And the spirit world trembled as a result. Something about you attracted notice. Before you ever had the vocabulary to comprehend it, something within of you broke the flow. Your childhood was never typical because of this. You were put into fights much too soon, while others were permitted to remain carefree. Not only were you abused, you were the target. You experienced trauma that was out of proportion to your age, and you knew it in your heart. Even without the words, you could feel the battle. The ongoing bewilderment, rejection, and inner turmoil weren't coincidental. Before you ever said your first truth, you were marked as a danger. Data alone is not enough for the elite. Spiritual intelligence is what they depend on. And you were a warning in that area. Ancient powers of control were aroused by the vibration and energy signature you carried. They wished that you would never awaken. But you were an issue even while you were sleeping. They attempted to smash you before you could rise because of this. The betrayals, negligence, and abuse were not just personal. They were calculated efforts to shut you down before it was too late. Since a selected one may only be postponed after it has completely activated, it cannot be stopped. It wasn't your success that got them to start observing you. They began long before you did. Just your potential was dangerous. Heaven had already spoken your name across timelines without you saying a word, and those whispers were misheard. That's why a lot of your suffering seemed unjust. It was unfair. However, it was affirmative. Verification that your presence was strong enough to disrupt the plan, even when you were at your weakest. You were announced, not simply born. Since then, they have been attempting to keep that news quiet. They want your plan, but not your responsibilities, says number 9. People respect your speech, your movements, and your effortless ability to command energy. But your tale isn't exactly what they want. Without the process, they want the result. They see your presence, your self-assurance, and your brightness, but they don't inquire about its origin. They do not want your worries, but they do want your plan. They don't want the crushing that made your oil, but they do want it. Even in prestigious settings, some individuals make notes on your leadership style, connections, and mannerisms. They duplicate your voice, facial expressions, and personality, but they are replicating the product rather than the suffering. They fail to realize that what you exude was acquired via fire. You learned what you know from a chapter that almost shattered you. All of your power was developed in secret, during conflicts no one saw, and during nights when no one came to check on you. Without having to deal with the lunacy, they want to capture the enchantment. However, your radiance isn't a show. It is a matter of survival. It's the reverberation of your triumph. The culmination of years of spiritual conflict, seclusion, rejection, treachery, and reconstruction is what they are after. There's no fast way to authenticity. They want to download what you've been through. You can't get what you carry easily. You weren't endowed with anointing. It was fought for. This explains why you simultaneously feel appreciated and misunderstood. People would tap out if they had to carry what you carried, but they desire what you have. They dislike the procedure, but are drawn to the power. They don't want your scars, but they do want your confidence. They don't want your inner conflicts, but they do want your impact. They don't want the stillness you had to suffer in order to discover your voice. God gave it to you, not to them, for that reason. Because only you were prepared to endure the flames without compromising your morals. You didn't just make it through. You remained soft and survived. And they are unable to mimic that aspect. You didn't just experience it. No replica will ever have the same weight as you did because you overcame it. 10. In simple clothing, you're their worst nightmare. To shake the environment. You don't need a spotlight, a sermon, or a podium. They are frightened by the quiet way you enter rooms, yet your soul speaks loudly. You don't have a lot of prestige. You're not wearing a validation outfit. You have no qualifications, contacts, or fancy labels. However, everything changes as soon as you walk inside the room. They are aware that something is abnormal. You are the epitome of power, unbought, untamed, and indisputable. They created a civilization that worshiped titles, riches, public acceptance, symbols, and carefully manicured perfection. However, you get around all of that. God has given you a certain type of power that was not bestowed by man. You are very harmful to them because of this. Your spiritual upheaval while wearing casual attire. You live it without ever raising your voice, while others are occupied with using optics to demonstrate authority. You don't need to make an announcement. What's phony around you is exposed by you. They are unable to promote you. They are unable to control you. Since your identity is independent of their system, they are unable to dictate your story. And to those who thrive on manipulating perception, it is the most terrifying kind of person. The true ones never required a stage, and you are evidence of that. A costume is not necessary for that heavenly purpose. That favor does not need to be ostentatious. The general public has been taught to respect authority only when it seems to be successful. However, when you seem modest, grounded, and genuine, people experience an inexplicable emotion. It isn't charisma. Consecration is that. You've experienced experiences that have destroyed your soul and ego. What remains is something that neither politicians nor influencers can replicate. You're genuine, yet you're not ostentatious. And it makes you deadly to an illusion-based system. You are living proof that God never needs a stage to justify his creations. Although you don't seem to be the danger, you really are. Their greatest fear disguised as an ordinary day is you. And it's too late by the time they recognize it. The darkness has already been broken by the light. 11. They are aware of your protection. They thus use cowards to carry out their operations. They would have tried by now if they really believed they could ruin you. However, they haven't, and you've known it in your heart. The reason for their fear is not you, but rather the things that surround you. They have researched you. They have observed you both closely and far. They have experimented with psychological traps, emotional sabotage, and subtle assaults. However, as they approached, an invisible force intervened. Plans fell apart. Access was refused. It's no accident. That is the protection of God. They are aware that you are not alone. They've detected it. Your life is being blocked, redirected, covered, and hidden by that invisible hand. They are aware that there are things that ought to have removed you years ago. Resilience like that is not innate. It has a spiritual component. Additionally, they send cowards since they are unable to oppose God. They won't confront you directly. They will take advantage of those who are close to you, have resentments, fears, or are weak-willed. They won't challenge your power. To get to you, they will take advantage of someone else's vulnerability. The assaults seldom seem direct because of this. The elite themselves never do it. It's the unspoken rumors, the unexpected drama in relationships, and the bewilderment that surfaces just before a breakthrough. These are not arbitrary. These are well-planned diversions, all aimed at draining your spiritual and emotional reserves. The fact is that they are unable to prevail in the actual conflict. They no longer have access to the dimensions where the actual conflict is being waged. They're losing too. You were protected, not simply chosen. They don't understand the shield around you. Instead of facing you, they are fixated on discrediting you because of this. Since they have no other explanation for why their assaults are ineffective, They must portray you as insane, unstable, and challenging. They claim that this one must be insane because they are unable to claim that God is protecting it. Let them speak. Their smoke screens should be thrown. They are free to send as many puppets as they choose. The truth won't be altered. They are aware that you are untouchable because of who sent you, not because of who you are. Number 12. They are unable to purchase what you have. They are enraged by it. The majority of individuals have a cost: recognition, influence, a little amount of prestige, and a small amount of luxury. All it takes to get them to fold is that. However, you have turned down every enticement they have offered you. The accolades, the phony prospects, and the open doors that come with unseen strings have all been exposed by you. And each time you put purpose ahead of benefits, you demonstrated something people detest. You are not a commodity. You are unique because of it. You are dangerous because of it. That makes you too strong for them to handle. You cannot buy, copy, or bargain for what you carry. They can't threaten to reject you since you didn't base your identity on approval. They can't undo what they didn't create since you didn't become famous. Men did not give your value. God sealed it. Because of this, you exude a peaceful confidence that makes others who depend on titles and following feel extremely uneasy. Shortcuts have been suggested to you. Inspiring diversions masquerading as advantages have been presented to you. But you were wiser. You were aware that the cost was not worth your soul. And you remained anchored when others climbed quickly and fell terribly. You opted for integrity and patient progress over compromise and quick satisfaction. You lost exposure as a result of that choice. In a society where everything is for sale, it made you untouchable but also cost you connections. They've made an effort to understand you. They have attempted to label you, draw you into relationships that would defraud you and bait you. However, they can't take it when you consistently choose obedience over opportunity. Because the person who cannot be purchased becomes problematic in elite settings. The flaw in their recipe is you. The variable that doesn't react to the typical leverage is you. They are not used to interacting with individuals who are self-aware and do not need a price tag. That's why they keep such a tight eye on you. They are thus unable to understand how you continue to function without the support of the system. They fail to realize that neither you nor favor are for sale. Money doesn't drive you. Your purpose is what drives you. They will never be able to own you because of this. 13. Your anonymity serves as both a weapon and a shield. You're not invisible. You're safe. Your name being silent is not a penalty. It's defense. God has purposefully kept you concealed while others scramble to be noticed. Because your possessions are too important to be revealed too soon. They would have attacked before you were even prepared to protect yourself if they had seen the whole you before you were sealed. Therefore, God allowed people to ignore, undervalue, and avoid you, not to undermine your self-esteem, but to peacefully lay the groundwork for your future. You've undoubtedly experienced the anxiety of knowing that something significant is happening in your life, but not receiving the attention that goes along with it. Premature exposure is one of the enemy's favorite techniques. Therefore, that's intentional. He will excite you too fast just to see you falter when you lack the foundation to support the weight of influence. But you were spared that by God. Rather, He enveloped you in anonymity while the oil developed. And now, because you were practicing while they were away, your obscurity has turned into a weapon. You were learning how to battle demons in quiet, while they were concentrating on followers and influence. You were developing more than simply charm. You weren't simply creating style, you were creating substance. They can't understand how someone they've been ignoring for so long can suddenly have this much depth, authority, and spiritual weight now that they are seeing glimmers of you. Your existence is known to the top circles. They are aware of the difference in your voice. There's something distinctive about you. You have a disruptive insight, but they don't know how to halt it since they didn't witness your ascent in public. That is the strength of concealment. What they can't trace, they can't destroy. What they didn't anticipate, they can't stop. By the time they see you're growing, you've already been planted. By the time they realize your name is relocating across areas they don't control, you're already entrenched. Being low-key isn't a bad thing. That's your divine plan. Because God was awakening every aspect of you while they were sleeping on you. 14. You're going to upend their world, even if you're not in it. You had a mission from birth, but you weren't born into affluence. You are thus more hazardous than the person occupying the highest spot on the pyramid. You don't talk like them, move like them, or have the same desires as them. That is precisely the reason your presence is so upsetting. Even though you are not in their world, you pose a danger to its very existence. Because you're not trying to fit in like them. They created ladders, but you're not ascending them. You are here to reveal the weaknesses in the system that they claim is infallible. There were no golden invites or quick cuts on your route. You were formed in solitude, in prayer, in agony, and in dark places. Professors didn't teach you anything. Pressure taught you. That's the difference. They were polished. You were processed. You weren't taken from a castle by God. You were reared in the woods by Him. Far from the limelight, far from the cacophony, far from the systems that would have muffled your voice. As He wasn't trying to make you popular, you were being prepared for battle by Him. Your presence strikes a different chord because of this. You are not loyal to the system since it did not create you. You don't need their blessing. Neither their platform nor their plan are necessary for you. Higher dimensions are the source of your instructions. You become unpredictable as a result, and control is hampered by unpredictability. They are used to using echoes to create empires. Those who only repeat what has already been stated. But then you enter, unique, uninfluenced by them, and endowed with authority they are unable to check. Abruptly, their instructions begin to tremble. The regulations cease to be applicable. Because you're activating, not simply talking, people begin to wake up. You're more than just unique. You are divine intervention. They didn't send you to compete. You were sent to face something they believed to be indestructible. And why is it so much more dangerous? You aren't trying to find a place at their table. You're turning it upside down. To them, you were simply another person to watch, ignore, or control, another face in a throng. But the force you really are was something they didn't anticipate. Silence enveloped the storm. The plan was concealed in plain view. Without prior notice or authorization, the divine disturbance was introduced directly into their system. Blending in was never your intention. You were destined to succeed. Your voice has only gotten better with each effort to quiet you. Your judgment has only become better with each trap they set. Every holdup was wonderful. While the world became inebriated with delusion, you had time to ground yourself in reality. They are now keeping a closer eye than before. They dread what your waking represents, not because they appreciate you. You provide as evidence that true power is not derived from platforms, lineages, or titles. It is derived from heavenly origin, fire, and obedience. And power like that cannot be controlled, branded, or purchased. You're rocking their world from the inside out, even if you're not in it. Not with noise, but with presence. Not with confusion, but with clarity. They believed you would remain sleeping, but now you're completely and boldly awake. Furthermore, this lamp cannot be placed back in its box. Let them observe, then. Give them time to study. Since you were never intended to impress them, let them mutter your name in chambers constructed on pretense. To outlive them, you were sent. And have faith in this. The same God who concealed you is now the one who is unveiling you in a calculated, potent, and intentional manner. Must use the truth to undermine the system, not to amuse it. You're not coming. They know you are already here. If you were moved by this message, don't just scroll past it. Stay connected by tapping in. To ensure that you never miss another word intended to inspire you, subscribe to the channel. If this video validated what you've knew deep within, you'll like it. Leave a comment. Your story might be the inspiration someone else needs, and your voice counts here. Tell someone who is likewise navigating the dark with strength in their bones about this. This realization should not be kept to oneself. This goes beyond content. It's affirmative. It's more than simply a video. Spiritual alignment is the reason. Together, let's develop. You're not viewing this by chance. Therefore, let's ascend consciously. This is where you were led. May you be blessed. May God bless you.